The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself.
We like to party.
We like to party. Welcome to the Queen's Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ragga here with my two BFS, Ash and Jack. Hi, guys.
Hi, Rachel.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone, specifically Ashton, who is an actual mother, and Jacqueline, who's a cat mom.
Which is not the same.
I have plants now, so I'm officially a plant mom. Two of my friends gifted me plants, and now I'm a plant person.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Shout out to my two friends who gifted me plants.
And shout out to your two plants.
Yeah, their names are Jeff and Jeff. One is spelled Geoff, and one is spelled Jeff, of course.
Jeff and Geoff, right?
Yeah, Jeff and Geoff. I love them dearly, and they're like children to me. So on that note, we are reading One Moment Please by Amy Daws today. And this is trigger warnings. I think I need to put some on this, only because I'm going to get really upset about... it's not quite physical abuse, but it's physical abuse adjacent.
Also, mentions of child death.
Yes. Cancer, sick children specifically, child death,
parenting.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting, actually. And
let's do a book about pregnancy and parenting for Mother's Day. Fuck, that's gross.
Listen, when I talk about tentacles, you're allowed to say how gross they are. When we talk about pregnancy, I'm going to talk about how gross it is.
Okay, that's fair, but I don't pick a fuck ton of pregnancy books, and you pick a lot of tentacle books.
So that awkward moment when an ER doctor has to inform you that you're pregnant with his baby. 3 things Lynsey Jones knows about the hot doctor. He's grouchy. He's an arrogant jerk. And strangely, he's obsessed with pie. 3 things Dr. Dick knows. He doesn't talk about his past. He doesn't do relationships. And the crazy girl in the hospital cafeteria who ate a fistful of silk French pie is annoyingly irresistible. After a chance meetup at a bar and a heated cab ride together, things come to a head. And now, instead of hating each other, they're horizontal in bed. 3 months later, the weird cafeteria stalker who crept out of Dr. Dick's house like a thief in the night winds up as his patient in the ER after her Tinder date from hell. Dr. Dick is prepared to keep it cool and professional. That is until her blood work reveals that she's pregnant. What really throws him for a loop is the surprise baby is his.
What?
Dun, dun, dun. So that is basically like the first several chapters of the book.
Okay.
And we're done.
And we're done. Bye. So happily ever after.
Rachel's now going to rant.
Jesus, do I have a rant? We meet our character, Lynsey Jones. She is writing her theses. She's doing her master's in psychology. She was a social worker, what she did for undergrad, and then she quit her job and went back into her master's. So she's literally just finished writing her master's paper, and she's sitting in this... She's writing in a cafeteria in a hospital, and she's doing this because this is the only place that she's found that she can focus really well. And she ended up, before you even asked, Jacqueline, because I see the look in your eyes, she was here because her mom had to come get a colonoscopy or something, and she was waiting for her, and she ended up here, and she was writing at the time for her theses, and it just, for some reason, this place was very inspirational for her to write in.
Her best friend's an author and found her inspiration in a tire shop.
So this is, to your point, Ash, this is the 3rd book in the Wait With Me series. The first one is called Wait With Me, which is Kate and Miles, who you're talking about.
Yeah.
They have like a meet cute in a tire shop, basically, where Kate is writing. Kate is a smutty romance author. A little nail on the head. The second one is next in line with Sam and Maggie. Sam is Miles'
sister, I think.
Sam is Miles' boss, and Maggie is Miles' sister.
Yeah.
And then after this is the third book. And then after that, it's Take a Number and then Last on the List. So we have a little bit of background, but not a shit ton. Like, this is where I read this as a standalone. Like, I don't think you need the backstory of, and especially like
They flush it out.
well,
pretty
yeah, Amy Daws especially like fleshes out what happened in the previous book and then continues that story in this book as well. So there's some other stuff that comes up with all the characters. Like, they're very interconnected. Because her best friend Kate writes her smut books in a tire shop, this is like a perfectly normal thing for her to have done.
She encourages
Yeah.
Lynsey to find her
Yeah.
spot.
And this is the spot that called to her, and so this is where she's writing. And she also really enjoys the French silk pie that they serve here. She's kind of low-key obsessed with it. Anyway, but so she's sitting here. She literally just finished her thesis, hit save a million times. She just like is just she's super elated that this is finally done. Then this like grumpy ass doctor just sits down in front of her at her table and just starts eating his lunch. And so she's like, hi. And he doesn't say anything. Like, he's grumpy. And she's like,
Okay.
Are you a doctor here?
Okay. But he's just grumpy.
He just grunts. That's literally what it says.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. But like, grumpy is not an excuse for asshole.
Correct.
Explanation, not an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just grumpy. He's a dick.
Mm-hmm. He's a doctor dick, one would say.
Yes.
So then she tries to like spark more conversation with him. He's just like not having it, basically. And then he confronts her in such a way that he's like accusing her of having like Munchausen's or something.
Yeah.
And like that she needs a psych eval and all this stuff because what kind of crazy person comes to the cafeteria every single day, because he's noticed this every single day for months, or every other day or whatever for months, and just sits here. Like, what kind of person are you that does that? That's crazy. Like, what do you, like, you need a psych evaluation. You're insane. And she's like, I'm here writing my theses. Like, go fuck yourself. And he's just being an asshole to her.
And that's how you meet the main male character for the book.
In her great exit from this situation, she picks up the silk pie that she had been eating and goes to cram it in her mouth for whatever reason. And half of it falls onto his lap. And now he's covered in pie and she has pie, and she packs her shit up and leaves. And that's the first chapter of the book.
But not without saying, enjoy your crotch pie, Dr. Dick. Which is delightful.
It is. So she goes home and she runs into her. Sorry, I should backtrack. She had like contacted Kate, her best friend, and was like, "Oh my god, we have to go for drinks tonight. I finished my thesis, whatever." Kate's like, I have a thing tonight and I can't do that, whatever. But like, you go out and have fun and whatever. And so she gets a hold of her friend Dean, who lives in her neighborhood. I should mention as well, she's living in her grandmother's home. Apartment specifically. Her grandmother passed away like 2 years ago, but she had paid the rent up for 5 years ahead of time, which is a wild thing to do, but whatever. Basically, she's living rent free for like until the end of the lease, which is in like 3 months from now. And so Dean is one of her friends that lives in the neighborhood. He and Kate have some history? Question mark. He's a weird dude.
Honestly, when Dean was first introduced, I thought he was the gay best friend.
Same. That's the vibe he gives off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, man-ho.
He's what's the finance bro?
Finance ho, man-ho. Finance
bro, he's
man-ho.
a finance bro man ho. Yeah, you got it. Perfect. He's a man whore, in case you were unclear about that.
He likes to have the sex.
But he doesn't like to have the commitments because, as they unpack in this, he is only comfortable with the opposite sex if they are a friendship level of commitment or something like that. Like,
due to like his parents' relationship or something.
Yeah, anyway, there's a whole thing there. She invites Dean out. They go out for drinks to celebrate that she's done finish her paper. So they're out there, they're at this bar, they're drinking, they're hanging out, having a good time. And in walks one of Dean's. So Dean's a finance bro, as I mentioned. He does like stonks and whatever. And stocks. I'm making fun of stocks, Ashton. Don't look at me like that.
I was like, why did
stonks,
you say it like that?
It's an internet thing.
Whimsy.
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 It's fucking whimsy.
Wembley.
It's fucking stonks. So anyway, we're saying words now. So one of his clients, Max, I think it is.
Yeah, Max Fletcher.
So Max walks in to the bar and they're like, bro, let's sit down and have a chat and Dean, who's very, Dean's such a weird character because he's like incredibly self-centered.
Yeah.
But then he also comes across as very caring, which reads very narcissistic to me.
Yeah. But you know what? All the men in the books to me read that way.
Yeah, it's totally fair. The way, yeah. Anyway, we'll unpack some of that later because the men in this book, I'm just like, what? The head scratch. Dean insists that they stay and sit down and whatever. And Max is like, oh, my friend is coming, so like they'll join whatever. And who's his fucking friend?
Dr. Dick.
Dr. Dick.
Oh,
obviously.
right.
And
He's
true to
called-
his name.
He's called Dr. Dick because his name's Dr. Richardson.
Yeah, his name is Josh Richardson.
Oh,
and
okay.
So it's not just because he's a dick.
however,
He is also a dick.
he is also a dick. And she didn't know his name was Richardson because he had a badge on that said his name. They all sit down and have drinks. And basically Dean has to beg her to stay, which is the flags of redness. Because if you have to beg your friend to stay, then that's just not a good sitch, because he's just going to sit here and talk business with Max for hours. And that's what he does.
And she builds like a log house out of...
Charcuterie. She's obsessed with charcuterie. Jack, you'll like that bit. Like
Yeah.
she eats charcuterie for whole meals. Like it's a great thing. Dr. Dick, true to his name, is not very pleasant. He like is making fun of her in not a great way. And she is getting super defensive and worked up about it. And then he's continuing to make fun of her and going down this. And like
It's gaslighty a bit.
I think it's supposed to come off as playful and fun and just his personality, who he is. And it's very off-putting. It's very off-putting. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care for it. Anyway, so and it's very funny because I feel like I know this person in real life. Do you know what I mean? Like I've met people like this and I just want to punch them in the face because they're assholes. And you're not funny. You're just not funny. It's not funny. No one's
But
having
they
a great
think
time
they're
except you.
funny.
But you think you're funny, and you think everyone else should think you're funny, and you're not. So regardless,
I don't think you're funny.
I'm setting a tone. I don't
Sorry.
think you're funny. So they sit down and they have these drinks, whatever. And she's like, admittedly, just sitting there pounding back drinks because number one, she's bored. Number two, she's supposed to be out celebrating with her friend, and said friend is ignoring her and basically like hanging out with whoever else. And then she's stuck across from Dr. Dick, who's a piece of shit. And so she's been drinking. And at one point, they order another round of drinks, and Dr. Dix makes the managerial decision to get up and tell the waitress that she wants water, not another drink. And so when the waitress comes back with her drink is water, not what she ordered, she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And the waitress is like, "Yeah, well, like he said you wanted something else." And she's like, "I didn't say any such thing." And like, anyway, they have a bit of to do, and then she's like, "I'm the fuck out of here. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm leaving." And so she gets up to take take an Uber because it's the current year. Dean is like, well, I got to stay because like we're talking business and whatever else.
We want to buy a bakery together.
So weird.
Because that's what two bros do, is buy a bakery.
Fucking finance bros. Plot is what they have to do, is plot. Anyway, so then...
Fuck you, Dean.
Right? So then... And I should mention, Max at one point did ask her what she did or what she was doing, like with her like existence, career, etc. And she mentions that she's studying, or she mentioned that she just finished her master's thesis on basically like group therapy for sick kids, basically, which kind of sparks both Max and Dr. Dick's attention in different ways, which is very interesting. So remind that for later. Anyway, so she goes to get her Uber and leave, but Dr. Dick, of course, tags along and is like, well, you shouldn't go by yourself or whatever, and I have to go home anyway, so let's split an Uber.
I love when men tell me what I should do.
This is the particular instance where it's like when they do the thing you want them to do, but they do it in such a poor manner. Like, this is the real life version of do you know what I mean? Like, the fantasy version is one thing, and then this is depicting the real life version where it's not cool. Anyway, so
it could be very nice that he's taking an Uber with her.
Yeah, but
instead he's doing it as Dr. Dickie McDickface.
Well, but in real life, this is how this scenario would go. as opposed to the fantasy version of this scenario that we typically read. But at the same, anyway.
So good job writing something realistic.
I guess, but also so fucking off-putting. Anyway, so she gets in this Uber with him, red flag the third, and he takes her phone to like put his address in or whatever, so the Uber can go stop at one and then stop at the other. And while doing that, he deleted her address and only left his address in there. So the Uber dropped her off at his place. They were having a tiff like in the middle of that, and so she got out to yell at him, and the Uber took off, and now she's stuck here.
Sketchy.
Anyway, so then
Are you fucking serious?
hold on, Jack. Yeah.
Rachel's like, don't yell at me. I don't know. I'm
So,
sorry.
but one of the things, like, anyway, they're having
One of the things.
the thing in this instance. They're having this like heated conversation about something. He's like, "Gosh, do you ever or how do you shut you up or something like that? Or how do I stop you from talking?" She's like, "Well, you have to kiss me, obviously."
Fuck. I hate these people.
So then they start making out, and then they're like, "Well, let's go inside and do some hanky panky." And then they go inside and do some hanky panky. And because plot holes, doesn't have any condoms handy, but she's like, "Wait a second, I have a condom in my clutch." And she pulls out a condom in her clutch that was from one of Kate's book release parties. She had these branded condoms or something. Anyway, so she has one of those porn condoms, and so that's the condom they use. So you can see where this is going. Anyway, so then in the middle of the night, after they're done the hanky pank, she wakes up thinking like her phone is ringing and it says mom on it. So she picks up and answers it, but it's his mom because it's his phone. And so that's awkward and freaking weird. And she talks her way out of it by pretending she's the maid or something like that. Cleaning lady. Anyway.
But his mom knows who the cleaning lady is.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Anyway, so she basically bolts. She like steals some of his jogging pants and a t-shirt and gets the fuck out of there. Grabs an Uber and goes home. Fast forward 3 months, because this is where we're at. She is going on a Tinder date. Like she's like sitting down talking to Kate or something about like, you know, dating's bullshit and I have to move back in with my parents basically because my lease is going to be up shortly. I still haven't found a job even though I graduated from my master's and whatever. So there's a dig against millennials here that I really am pissed off about, I'm not gonna lie. And it's something like something about millennials not being hardworking. Or she's like, I'm moving back with my parents just like the rest of the like non-hardworking millennials of my generation or something. Like, it's just some weird dig on millennials. I'm like, that's weird. Why would you do that?
Is it a dig on millennials or is it a dig on people digging on millennials?
I don't know what it's... Here's the thing. I feel like there's a lot of stuff in here that's supposed to be ironic and it just does not come across that way. And if it's not supposed to be ironic and it is just at face value, that's even more offensive, I think.
Do you feel that way because... going into this, you were already off put?
No, not at all, Ashton. Like, honestly, like, because I think I messaged you like I think it's like on the 4th page of this book.
It was the fat thing.
It was the fat thing that I messaged you about. And it was like page 4. And that's the only thing I messaged you because it was downhill like that for a while, but I wanted to give it a chance because like, it's interesting because like, there's a lot of those little pieces in here where Jack, for context, like on page 4 of this, she talks about having a pie butt and how she can't lose. Like when she went to university, Kate introduced her to Oreos or something, and she gained 20 pounds, and then she lost the 15 pounds, but can never lose that last 5 pounds, and that's why her butt jiggles when she runs.
She comes from a really religious background, and her parents were really strict, and she was not allowed to eat. Like
anything that her parents she wasn't allowed to eat anything her parents didn't grow, basically, in their weird hydroponic basement thing. But to that point, I don't know, the whole tone of it is so off.
It's funny because I think it's supposed to come across as relatable.
Yes, I agree.
And maybe if I were somebody who was a size 10 or a size 8, it might seem relatable, where you're like, I just have a few extra pounds. I totally get like feeling fat. But like when you actually exist within that sphere, it just like, it's like when your friends complain about it. It's like, okay, cool. But like,
well, your friend's like, oh my God, I'm so fat. And I'm over here being actually fat. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a weird, here's the thing. I always come at these because I've come across a couple of books like this. And I always take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, the way I look at it is that you are writing a romance novel, probably 99.999% for women. Why would you write it? Why would you ever write a female character that was so off-putting towards other females or women in general?
But I think, again, if it...
Like, you could choose to not write that. That's a decision you made. You could relate in any other way.
Oh, 100%.
In a positive way, even.
And I don't like the comment. I'm not saying this because I like the comment or I think whatever. But I think for a lot of women, that's a relatable thought process. And maybe for the author, that was a relatable thought process. So...
Like, it's not off-putting,
but to some people,
many people.
And here's, but
Yeah.
and then to further my point though, it would be a funny, relatable thing if you said that one time. Be like, oh my god, pie bot, whatever, and you carried on. It is literally in every other fucking chapter of this book. She talks about her jiggly pie bot. And it makes me homicidal at some point. And to the point of when she's pregnant, because surprise, she gets pregnant. When she's like, oh my god, I'm so fucking fat. And it's like, you're pregnant. Like, but here's the thing is that she doesn't come across as a broken character in this way. And so it just comes across as really fucking shallow is what it does. And super insecure. But the insecurity isn't even there as much because this is the only one thing that she has an issue with. She's not insecure about anything else about herself whatsoever. Why is she insecure about carrying an extra 5 pounds? Like, it's such a fucking weird thing for me to read.
I think it's because I know girls like this.
It's just so, but like, there's nothing else at all in this book that she comes across as like to the point of she's so strong and willed about other stuff that so I'm just like
the flaw. Like I said, I know girls like this, and I think that, but also like look at the industry you work in and the people that you associate with, and then look at the industry I work in and the people I see on a day to day. Like I know a lot of girls, and I've worked with a lot of girls like this. The girls that are like stunningly beautiful that you're like, I don't understand how you could complain about anything about your existence. And that is the one thing that they hone in on. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's okay. It's annoying as fuck. That to me is who she's catering to, is the shallow and like mildly narcissistic woman who is only focused on her weight. Doesn't mean it's right. It just... That's where I read with it. And I'll be honest, when I read this book, I listened to it for one. Which
is why you're not upset about the spelling of Lynsey.
Yeah.
I'm upset with the spelling of Lynsey.
Also, I was sick. Like, not even a little sick. I was very sick. I was given homework. And I was like, I need to accomplish this. And I attempted that.
An attempt you did. Okay, so obviously we get to like, so she is going back to dating after like her life is kind of be imploding.
Yeah.
She's got to move. She hasn't found a job. She has graduated. Kate's like, go back on dating, whatever. So she goes on this date with this guy and it goes poorly. Surprise. And
but like, I think it was supposed to be like comically poorly too. Like, I think that was supposed to be amusing to some capacity too.
I guess.
Which is another swing and a miss.
And they describe her character, like Amy Daws describes Lynsey as very clumsy, which is also weird.
Again, a swing and a miss.
Yeah. It just didn't come together, I don't think.
No.
Anyway, but so because of the clumsiness, it's supposed to be really funny when she goes on this date. She has an allergic reaction to shellfish for starters, which I'm like, who in this current day goes to a restaurant and doesn't say, hey, I have a shellfish allergy, and then anyway, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then she cuts her finger on a knife, and then she twists her ankle, and then she has to administer her own EpiPen to herself when she's whatever. So she has this big collection of bad things that happen, and we get that from when we get Josh's chapter, because he's working in the ER this night, and she comes in. And he's very professional. He tries to keep it like civil and whatever and ask what happened. And Kate is actually, I don't know, she was acting kind of weird or something, asking weird questions, like, because Kate came in with her. And so he asked Kate to leave the room basically because Also, this is where you learn that she never told Kate about this one night stand with him.
Oh, because Kate starts obsessing with him because he's hot, and then she's like, he's my next new character.
Yeah, because she you know, again and again why she probably didn't tell Kate about it was because she didn't want her being like going romance author on her basically with the whole thing.
But Kate is also shallow.
I didn't read that first book,
I didn't either.
but
her character comes
across as very overbearing to me.
Yeah.
Is I think part of it because like when you get so deep and like I don't know, is the author like Amy Daws, is she fangirling about herself being a romance author too? Do you know what I mean? Like there's some weird
is
self-serving
there
thing.
self-reflection?
Yeah.
It's
Like she's trying to write her own story situation. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws potentially. Anyway, so Dr. Dick sorts her out, gets her all fixed up. He's run some routine blood work because she had to administer EpiPen, whatever. On the blood work comes back that she's pregnant, and so he starts like reeling into her, be like how did you didn't tell anyone that you were pregnant? You said this to the nurse. You didn't know when your last period was. Blah 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 blah. He's like, how could you not know these things? Like, you know, like you should have really disclosed that you were pregnant. And she's like, I didn't. What are you talking about? Like, this is not funny. And he's like, I'm not joking. Like, this is your blood work. Here's what it says. And she's like, what do you mean this isn't funny? He's like, yeah, from the blood work, you're like quite a ways along. And anyway, so they put in, he gets an ultrasound done, and sure enough, she's like 3 months pregnant. They have that like conversation of like, well, whose kid is it? Like, do you know who the father is and all this stuff? And she's like, I haven't been with anyone in almost a year before I slept with you, and I've been with nobody since. And he, of course, doesn't believe her, which tough but fair. But judgy as fuck. But also he's in super denial, and it's such a man thing to say.
Another instance where a man tells a woman what she should do and what she has been doing with her body.
Anyway, or assumes she is and is not doing.
Yeah.
So they exchange numbers, and he's like, we'll set up a meeting basically to talk about this in the future, which is such a fucking thing. Anyway, fine. So she still doesn't tell Kate what had happened.
Which, okay, that in and of itself, I don't care. If you have a best friend, like a bestie, best friend, it doesn't matter if you're afraid they're going to judge you or not. Like, if I did something or if I had something done that I knew you would react poorly, and I was like, I can't handle Rachel reacting poorly, but I need Rachel to know this, I would say, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you not to react in the way you want to react.
Yeah.
And we would have a conversation. Like, she doesn't tell anybody.
She tells
Why does
Dean.
she need to tell her though?
She's 3 months pregnant.
Yeah.
It's her best friend.
It's not that she needs to.
It's gonna be real funny in a couple months when she's actually showing pregnant, and Kate, her best friend, is like, "Why did you never tell me you were pregnant?" Like the whole thing is like,
obviously, eventually, you're gonna have to like tell people if you're gonna keep the baby, but I don't know that she needs. Like, she doesn't have to tell anyone right now.
It's the way that they built up the relationship between Kate and Lynsey, though. Like, they were like, she's her person. Like, Lynsey and Kate are like besties, like forever. Oh my God. Like, we tell each, oh my God.
Well, and
everything.
her and Kate and Dean are like the trio. Like,
yeah.
That sort of thing. And so she does end up telling Dean because the day she's moving out of her grandmother's place, she's sitting there against the wall, like just sobbing. And Dean's like, okay, what is going on? Like, it's like, I know you're upset. You're moving. You have to go back to your parents, whatever. But like, what is up? And she just straight up tells him. And he's like, okay, well, like, what does the father want to do? And she's like, she did like, oh, he hasn't contacted me yet to set up a meeting sort of thing. And Dean's like, okay, well, you'll move in with me then. Like, you move in with me. I'll look after you, and I'll try to like help you with the kid and whatever, and we can try to sort it out.
Do you know what it is? I just realized what it is.
What is it? What is it? Tell me.
It's that none of the characters seem or feel like they have their own identity, and they feel like they're fitting into the role the author needs them to fit into in the time frame. Like, Dean's really selfish when he needs to be selfish, but Dean's really caring when he needs to be coming across as caring, but that also comes across as selfish. Like, there's no consistency in their personalities. Like it's just
Well, but see there, and this is the thing, is that they're all broken
yeah.
in their own ways, but there's no, there's just something missing from them.
That's what I mean. It's like those like paper dolls you used to play with as kids. There's nothing to them. You put their clothes on by folding tabs over. Like, oh, but they can wear this outfit, but they can wear this outfit. But like, there's not a lot to them. They're just, they fit the role that they're in the scene that they're in.
And it's funny because one of the things I really thought about this book in particular, and I think I might have written it down in the notes, was that I have an incredibly hard time reading this entire book and believing for 2 seconds that Lynsey is a therapist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we'll get into that a little bit as we go through the rest of the story.
But again, it's like you're putting the tab clothes on the thing to fit.
Isn't she a social worker?
She just finished her master's in psychology. So she is a therapist, and she will be practicing shortly. But like, this is what her education is now in.
So she is going to be practicing.
Yeah.
Theoretically. It's like you have G.I. Joes and you have Barbies, and you're playing Barbies, but you need the G.I. Joe to fill in the spot. So the G.I. Joe fills in the spot and becomes the thing that you need it to become. Like
it's very one-dimensional.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're not flushed out.
Well, no, and when she adds the 3-dimension to them, it falls so flat. I think is part of the problem.
Because it's so chaotic.
Yeah.
Like the personality is so chaotic.
So to carry on with the story, they sit down and have a chat about the baby situation.
Her and Dean or her and Josh?
Her and Josh. And
who's Josh?
Josh is Dr. Dick.
Oh, okay.
I love that we got in this far and she's like, who the fuck is Josh, the main character?
One of the main characters. Dr. Dick.
Dick Thickens.
Dick Thickens. So part of her thing was that they don't know each other. They're not even friends. They don't even like each other. And so.
But he's also pissed that she's staying with Dean.
That's right. Because he's all murmur. You should just move in with me. It just makes sense. And she's like, I don't even like you. Which, in fairness, Lynsey stands on everything in this book. I'm 100% behind her in every single way up until one very specific moment. And then it's all bullshit. We'll get to that moment. Part of her thing is murmur, we don't know each other. I'm not moving in with you. That's crazy, whatever. So he decides that instead of, because she's like, or he was like, how do we get to that place? He's like, we should do things that people go do, like build a friendship, go out and do stuff, like go on a date or whatever, and like have those things. So he decides that as a date night, quote unquote, he's going to take her to a psychologist so they can have a therapy session together to get to know each other.
Oh my goodness.
And I need to highlight this.
I kind of love it.
No, I need to highlight this right now, okay? His idea of a first date is to take her to therapy, okay? Okay? Are we listening? Earmark this for later. His idea, therapy, his idea, okay? This will never come up again as being an idea for him, is to go to fucking therapy.
That's my point.
Stupid.
It doesn't fit. It fits for the point. It fits for the time frame. And it doesn't. It's there.
It's a plot device.
Literally for something later. But
Well, and it's a plot device to line her up to potentially have a job.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
For something later. But it doesn't add to him as a character. It doesn't show you anything about him.
Well, and if anything, it's so stupid because now you've built all these fucking plot holes. Like, what are you doing?
And it's underhanded.
Yeah. So they go do that and they learn a bunch of stuff about each other, which is very like, here are the cold hard facts about our lives. Like, this is my mother's name. This is what she does. This is my father's name. This
as if they're gonna be.
It's a job interview for fuck's sake. That's literally what it is.
Trying to get a green card.
But also he point blank says or thinks or whatever that this is why he doesn't like therapy because it's easy to lie to people.
Yeah. It's a thing.
It's like scribble knot people. I don't know.
So after this therapy session, he's like, so you're going to move in with me now? And she's like, no, what the hell are you on about? And so they carry on building friendships and whatever. And I'm trying to remember what the catalyst was. Do you remember why they ended up moving in together? There was some one thing that happened.
Dean and the girl, wasn't it? She has that revelation of like staying with Dean and him having like, because he only takes like one girl home.
No, there was one thing that Josh specifically did.
Oh, Josh did.
Yeah. So whenever Kate finishes a book, she has a party called The End. And she finished this book recently, and so they're having this big party. And Lynsey's also like, Lynsey and Dean are obviously talking about this, that like, you need to tell Kate. Like, Kate's got to know. So they go to this party, and Kate immediately tells them the gossip, which is the gossip of book 2, which is Sam and Maggie getting together. And so this is like where it kind of ties back into the main story. Then they, go off and whatever. And Dean like looks pointedly at Lynsey and is like, that was your opportunity to tell her that you were pregnant. So they carry on with the night. Kate notices that Lynsey is not drinking at one point. And so they're like up dancing on a table or whatever. And she gets really close to her and she's like, why aren't you drinking? What's going on? And that's when she tells her that she's pregnant. And Kate like, obviously has a Kate moment. And
isn't that also when Dr. Dick walks in?
Okay, so Dean apparently took her phone and sent like a prank text message to Dr. Dick saying like, you should come to this party or something.
Oh, I didn't take it as a prank.
It was that, like, it was supposed to be a joke, I guess. But this is the thing. Dean is like, he's playing both sides of this so fucking weird, because to your point about plot devices and being who you need to be, he's playing the like, I'm trying to make Dr. Dick jealous, but I also want him to do the right thing. And it's very fucking weird to me.
Yeah, I read it. He was trying to make him jealous to force him to do it. It's head games.
It's so weird. It's a very strange, but at the same time, he's like trying to be genuinely helpful to Lynsey, I guess. But like, are you? Because the whole thing is very self-serving. Anyway, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. So Dr. Dick shows up out of nowhere.
Wait, what's he supposed to be jealous of?
Dean. He's not.
Dr. Dick is supposed to be jealous of Dean.
Okay.
And he fucking is, believe you me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because she's living with him.
That's right. He like shows up and they like have a moment or whatever, and then he's like, "Yo,
he loses it because she's on the table."
Well, and then she's holding a beer, and he's like, "In your state." Anyway, and he keeps using the term "situation," which he always gets upset about. This is not a situation. This is a child. And I'm like, that's a situation, but whatever, it's fine. It can be both.
Why not both?
Why not both?
You are making it a situation.
Anyway, so they go back to his place and they do some hank and pank, because they this is also where he tells her that the therapist that they had been talking to specifically asked him to put Lynsey in touch with her because she was very intrigued with her child psychology stuff that she wanted to do. So she wanted to like hire her on part-time or something to get her started in that direction. And so he told her this, and obviously she's like head over heels about this. And so they go do some hank and pank. Again, he asks her to move into with her like the next morning or something. They have that conversation. And this is where she finally caves. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll move in. And so, you know, she gets all of her stuff from Dean. And I think it's like he's away at work or something. And she gets her entire pod of like storage pod of stuff and like unloads it into his house, because he owns like one chair and like nothing, and a Keurig and like nothing else in this, and you know, a master bed and whatever, and a closet, but like he doesn't own a couch or a television or a dining table. Like he owns nothing. And so she basically rolls up with all of her stuff, and it's all like kind of kitschy old lady stuff because it's her grandmother's.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
right.
it's kind of weird. And so she, you know, populates the house and
Populates the house.
populate that house.
She's gonna do that later.
Yeah, well, there's that. And so he comes home to this and he's like, okay, what's going on? And it's very
But
weird.
the TV.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Anyway, apparently, this is a thing. They mount the television to a wall that's like the only wall you can mount a TV to. And it's a quote unquote original stone wall, which means something apparently.
It's like a historic house.
It means you're not supposed to put fucking holes in it.
Anyway, so they put fucking holes in it.
Yeah.
And
Who did that?
I don't know, the
Miles.
mechanic guys that did it. Anyway, not important, but it comes up several times.
Baby out.
Anyway, and so that you know what, they get settled in whatever, and she has her own bedroom that she sleeps in by herself.
So there was not only one bed.
There was not only one bed. They are roommates at this point. So we have gone from we've gone to one night stand to friends to kind of dating to roommates. We're in the roommate situation now. I put the timeline at the bottom. They have several appointments with like what do they call it? The OBGYN human? Yeah. And
Obstetrics.
sure.
It's important that we call them a human.
A human, just so you know they're a human. There's one point she asks a bunch of like quote unquote awkward questions, according to him, about like what she can and can't do.
Oh, the spanking.
The spanking thing. Yeah, because he was the most recent time they had the hank and pank. Because, and this is another thing. When she moved in, she was like, no more sex. We are roommates. We are going to be roommates. We're not complicating with any more stuff. So that's where they're at. Hence the roommates.
Right.
So he had said some stuff about like, because she liked to be spanked, which is apparently a big to-do.
But she only discovered it because of him.
Yeah, because of him. Anyway.
Oh, so enlightened.
Jesus Christ. Vicious.
You've changed my life,
Right?
Jake.
You impregnated me, Jake.
Josh, whatever.
Uncle Jake.
Dr. Dick Thickens.
Uncle Jake.
Uncle Jake. God. Anyway.
Arguably preferential to
she
Rachel.
asked, whatever. So she asked some of those questions and like while in front of him to the OBGYN, and you know, they had the normal conversations about like, you know, if you know when you're pregnant, it's good to
Sex
make
and
your body
pregnancy.
feel good and whatever. And yeah, the kid can take a few spankings. Paraphrasing.
It's okay to spank the fetus in utero.
Nipple stimulation is okay as long as it's under 15 minutes per nipple. Like just really weird. Anyway, you know, stuff they ask apparently.
I love how Rachel's like, it's really weird. Where it's like,
I don't know. Is it?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I think a doctor probably would.
Well, you'd say that, but Dr. Dick is not that kind of doctor. Hence why he's like over whatever about everything, overbearing.
Yeah, but I think that has more to do with like male fear than it does actual knowledge.
Yeah, he throws out a lot of terms and weird stuff that at least like in the way it's written, the OBGYN is just like, haha, no, we're going to talk about what it actually means and that kind of stuff. So
Stop being a dick.
yeah, stop being yourself for a second.
Have you tried just not being yourself?
Have you tried just being literally anyone else? So hilariously though, she asked us on the heels of like no more sex, so it's kind of all irrelevant to a point. So then they go back and they live in the roommate situation for quite a while. Eventually it gets to the point where she just like cannot even. There's this weird thing going on where
They all suck.
no one has told their parents yet. And so we're almost at 4 months, I think, or something. Like the timeline's kind of wonky here. But she decides, after talking to Kate, that she's just going to rip the Band-Aid off and tell all the parents at once. So she steals Josh's phone and texts his mother and invites them to a dinner party and then deletes the text messages. It's like, okay, problem. Again, I have a hard time believing she's a fucking psychologist, but whatever.
Okay. What I will say to that is the hormones in that situation will make you do insane things.
And so,
Like irrationally
and
insane
that,
things.
listen, I totally get that. I don't understand that personally, but I can understand how that can be a thing.
'Cause,
However,
I did insane, stupid things.
Then that needs to be reflected in the writing to some degree.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
none of that is reflected in the writing.
Yeah,
the only thing that's brought up according to hormones is how fucking horny she is. That's the only thing that's ever brought up.
That also, not like in this book specifically, but that it feels like such a cop out in pregnancy books, like or pregnancy trope books. The ridiculously horny component, like it's just an excuse to write sex. Like I would love to read a pregnancy trope book where she feels absolutely horrendously disgusting about her body, does not want to have sex, and he doesn't pressure her to have sex, but like worships her in a way that makes her feel good. I want to read that. Because like
But you like the sex books.
I do, but you'd have to have sex in order to get pregnant, so you'd have the sex there. And like maybe she would get around to like actually feeling good about herself.
But you can also have some like fairly erotic stuff that is not penetrative sex.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, as somebody who did not feel super sexy and want to have sex and felt like she had to during her entire pregnancy and like admittedly was put through some really horrific things because of that. I get tired of reading I'm pregnant and I'm horny as fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, can we stop making pregnant women into new? I think for me, it's the normalizing not all pregnant women want to get railed within an inch of their life so that pregnant women don't feel like they're
broken if they don't.
Exactly.
Again, it comes back to the like, you could write the idealized version, but you chose to write this specific version. Like you could have thrown everyone a bone and made her feel body positive.
I'll write it.
You could have, what's that? You'll write it.
I'll write it.
Please do. But you could have written a body positive thing. You could have written a mother or pregnancy positive thing in a more realistic way.
If I write a pregnancy book, will you read it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'll read anything you write. Anything.
That's why I keep it hidden away on the internet.
Wonderful. She invites the parents around, and he's supposed to be home. Anyway, the dynamic between them is so bothersome. But anyways, he's supposed to be home, but she didn't tell him that this was happening, so he had to work late because of something work-related. Guess
This is
surprise.
one of those ones where miscommunication is like rife and does not work.
It's so dumb. And then so he shows up when the parents are there or whatever, and he doesn't freak out, but he's like, why didn't you tell me this was a thing? And she's like, I was going to tell you when you get home, but you were late. And he's like, if I knew this was happening, I wouldn't have been late. And she's like, no, you would have avoided the whole thing. Anyway, this whole thing is just ridiculous. And so she invited the parents, and then she told the parents that this is what's happening. And then she burned the chicken. And when she burned the chicken, she burned her hand. And when she burned her hand, Dr. Dick freaked out and had to go put ointment on it immediately, which included locking the two of them together in the same room. And then things got really sexy. And then his mom interrupted.
And then they got Slurpees.
They got interrupted by the Ziploc bag of aloe vera from his mom. Anyway, so then they didn't have sex. However, then the parents like cleaned up and tidied and left, and we're all sorry. Her parents were the worst because they're very religious, and
continued to be the worst.
Yeah, the fact that they weren't like together was also an issue with them.
Well, yeah, if you're religious.
Well, but here's the thing. So they had the kid out of wedlock. They're pregnant out of wedlock, and they're not together. And anyway, it was just, the whole thing was weird. And then his mother, this is where you get the first insight of why he is the way he is. And they make it very clear early on in the book that he's very like anti-kids. And so this is part of her hesitancy with the whole, like, why do you want me and this kid in your life if you're so against having children?
When he went off at the bar about people wanting kids, I was like, you're a dick.
I don't care for, like, kids are not my jam. I don't want them. But, like, why would you say that to somebody? Like, you shouldn't have children. You're wrong if you do. It's like, calm the fuck down for a second. That's not a thing you can say to anyone. It's not okay. Anyway.
I'm just okay with hip checking kids into pools.
Absolutely. Once they're born and they're pieces of shit, hip check away. That's fine.
And aren't going to die when they go in the water.
True, I guess.
Aren't babies like the best swimmers?
They are. They're like aquatic animals. Didn't you notice your kid had gills when he came out?
No, I noticed he had lungs, though.
Okay, so...
This is my son. He's also a manatee.
A manatee. I love how that's.
They don't have gills, but they have lungs.
Lovely. The parents all leave, all cranky, whatever, and then they have a conversation that leads into sex again. Surprise. Then we've migrated to the next stage, which is roommates with benefits. So now they're just going to be roommates who fuck. So that's
Thanks
where
for
we're
clarifying.
At. Yeah. So that's where we're at now, with no strings attached and whatever.
Yeah. With this baby.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It's literally a string attached.
Quite literally, in a literal way. Yeah.
I think that's an umbilical cord.
Yeah.
Potato.
Potato, tomato.
I feel like this book is just a series of him pressuring her into things.
I really do. There's one point Oh, I was going to say, this is where you get, with the parents, you get the insight of why he is the way he is. And then we follow that up with a couple days later, he sits down with Mark. He sits down with Max. And tells Max that Lynsey's pregnant, for starters, which he just did. We're like almost at 5 months or something, or 6 months. He finally just tells his arguably best friend, I guess, again, weird relationships, that this is happening, and he like asks him for advice and stuff, and they're like day drinking as well because it's the only time they can get together. Anyway, and then he like, oh my god, it's so fucking painful. Mark is like, Max is like, well, you could actually like love her, like that could be, because this is the thing, is that she doesn't want to be with him because he doesn't love her, because he's quote unquote incapable of love because of his past, which he won't talk about because can't talk about it because he's the man. He can't talk about these things and have emotions,
and would never go to therapy.
Oh my fucking god!
Unless he needs to ask his baby mama what her mom's name is.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, he and Max get into a bit of a tiff. And I say that insofar that he is basically acting like a little fucking child and gets grumpy about it. And then decides that if you're going to continue attacking me like this, to tell her that I love her and to deal with my past and all these things, then I'm going to leave. And Mark's like, okay, we won't talk about it. We'll just play pool, bro. Because bros will do anything except go to fucking therapy. Bro. And so this is Lynsey's whole thing, is that she's like, if like I can't be with a person who doesn't love me, and I can't be with someone who doesn't love their child, basically. And so this is the barrier they're at right now. Then we have the party bus. So this is
the minute you said that, I get the Venga buses coming in my head.
So
we like to party.
We like to party.
It's Dean's birthday, and he invited everyone to on this party bus for his birthday.
Is he still a giant douchebag?
He is still a giant douchebag.
Douchey Dean.
Douchey Dean. That's hard to say. Juicy Dean.
Only if we're talking about Dean Winchester.
Oh, Dean Winchester's juicy ass. Oh, things of dreams. So they go on the party bus, and
the Venga boys weren't there.
The Venga boys were not there. Sad. They go on the party bus. They go partying, and then they stop at. Now everyone is there. So we've got like the crew from the tire shop. We've got Dean is there. Max is there. The bakery lady is there, who Dean has a crush on.
Why was she there?
Because they're in the next book. They have to set it up.
Right. Bakery lady.
I don't get
the tire shop people.
Yeah. So Kate's Miles. Yeah, Miles is Kate's boyfriend, and he's from the tire shop, and Sam is his boss.
Oh, okay.
And then there's also some other people there too, which I don't think I wrote their names down. Anyway, inconsequential humans. They go to the tire shop, and because Miles is like, oh, I forgot my wallet, I'm just gonna pick it up. But he's like, hey, Kate, can you come with me because I need to show you something? And everyone's like, oh, he's gonna show her his dick out back, because obviously. And then, surprise, he's proposing to her using the marquee sign thing that's in front of the tire shop, which is super romantic, but that's Kate's bag, I guess. And then they have a whole thing, and she says yes, and then they're engaged. Surprise. And this whole thing was not a birthday party for Dean. It was actually an elaborate ruse for a proposal. Surprise.
I think I would have liked the proposal better if the party bus wasn't involved. Like, using the marquee sign is cute. If it's like stumbled across it, like
she came to work quote unquote at the tire shop one day
to get coffee, yeah,
or while they're tandem bicycling around the town.
Yeah,
Anyway,
walking their geese or something. I don't know.
fucking geese. Okay.
Fucking Windows 98.
Get Gates at her. Okay, so then this prompts some bullshit. And
I don't even remember.
You don't? Okay, so they go home and they do it.
This whole fucking book is bullshit.
But they're like, I think like the next morning they wake up or something, and he's like laying there staring at her, which again, kind of weird, but whatever. It's supposed to be romantic. Does not come. Does
watching
not come
me
across that way.
drool is so romantic.
I can't tell if you're staring longingly at me or if you're cross-eyed.
So this is his thinking brain, apparently, his thinking
Oh,
situation. Anyway, so when she wakes up, the first thing he says to her is, "Do you think we should get married?"
Oh my god, I hate this kid. How old are these people?
12.
She's 27.
And he's a cat.
He's 34. And
Cats are not
he
like this.
is a cat. Oh, yeah, he's 34.
In cat years or human
no,
years?
human years. So she immediately flips because she's like, "What the fuck? Why? No, why? What? You don't love me. We can't get married. That's ridiculous."
Which, admittedly, is a good response.
Again, she has a lot of good responses here. She's trying, but at the same time, she's like, "I'm not going to marry someone who doesn't love me or my child." No.
Does she love him?
Yes-ish.
Ish. Anyway,
Love
kind
adjacent?
of. Yeah, it's love light right now.
She's like thinking about falling.
Yeah. All that stuff is dumb. And then he talks to, I think it's Dean or somebody. Dean like gives him a pep talk or some shit at some point. And he's like, "Get your shit together. And if you're going to like propose, like do it properly and whatever." And, or Max, I think Max gives him advice or something.
No, because doesn't Dean make a comment like, if you're not smart about this, she's going to end up with somebody like me?
That's certainly a comment somewhere along the lines.
Okay, it is said.
Yeah. And anyway, Dean tries to call him out on several occasions. It's interesting.
And it's almost like it's weird to me because it feels like you're supposed to see character development in Dean when Dean's not the main character of the book.
Yeah, it's really
Like-
weird. Well, and the character development that happens anyway. Okay, let's talk about the character development. So he does that. He proposes to her using a charcuterie board or something and French silk pie from the cafeteria. Anyway, and then she accepts his proposal, which is ludicrous, but here we are.
They call it settling.
That is what they exactly call it. Yeah, that'd be it. Yeah, 1,000%. And then there's like some shit that goes down where I think it's when they're building the crib or something, or there's like they're moving something, and she kind of starts poking the bear on his background, like of where he's been, basically, and or like about his issues from his past.
Yeah.
And he just like straight up, like they get to the point where I think what comes out of his mouth is something along the lines of, I am not capable of loving this child, and I am not capable of loving you, is what it comes down to at the end of the day. And he straight up says that to her.
Hold up, this is after they're engaged?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So of course
this guy's a treat.
Well, so obviously she takes the ring and gives it back, and he's like, "What the fuck are you gonna do?" and all this other stuff. She's like, "I'm gonna go move in with Dean. Peace. I'm out of here. Like, you need to sort your shit out. This is bullshit."
Which was also a bullshit move on her behalf because she knew she wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Do what?
Move in with
Move
Dean.
in with Dean. It was a mind.
The
like,
whole
mind games.
The whole thing is ridiculous. It's all stupid. So she ends up moving in with Kate, unbeknownst to him. He thinks she moved in with Dean. And then there's this whole situation. Oh my god. So okay, I forgot. Okay, this is the part I forgot.
The doctor.
So the doctor, is it Kayla? Yeah, Kayla Wilson shows up at his doorstep, and he's not home. He's on his way home or something.
When Lynsey is still there.
Yeah, Lynsey's still living. Yeah, I need to backtrack a minute. Lynsey is still living there because this is the catalyst that blows up about his past.
Yeah.
This is what causes it. And Kayla shows up, and she's like, "Oh, I need to ask him for a consult for a child like oncology case that I'm working on. I can't figure out the issue, blah blah blah." And so Lynsey starts pulling threads there, and Kayla gives her the entire story basically about how Josh was a pediatric oncologist, and he, quote unquote, was responsible for the death of his best friend's child, Lucas, who was, I think, 7 at the time.
I was grateful that it wasn't his child who died.
Yeah.
Like,
That would have been really strange.
Not only that, but like it would have been a little bit too on the nose. Like, you expect that?
I guess.
Like, to me, when it was like, I'm not capable of loving you. I'm not capable of loving a child. I assumed he lost a child,
Right.
his child.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that it wasn't like his child,
Right.
at least.
And then he has a tattoo on his arm to remind him of Lucas and all this stuff. So anyways.
Marvel tattoo.
Yeah, Marvel tattoo. I'm sorry. His name's Julian. He has a tattoo on his arm to remind him of Julian.
Yeah.
Julian's like his name. And basically, like, after that, Julian's parents, who are Mark and Sienna, they filed a lawsuit against the hospital about misconduct and stuff. And anyway, they settled out of court, and Josh didn't lose his license, but he also, like, moved back home. And just, like, his life blew up or whatever. And he decided that he was not going to be a pediatric oncologist anymore. He was just going to work in the ER. And that he was just going to grind away at it.
And he's not going to have any furniture in his house.
Well, so, like, even over the years, because this was, like, several years ago, everyone from his past life had tried to contact him in one way or another. And he never responded to any of them or anything. Like, to the point of, like, he has a letter in his desk from Mark that he never opened.
Because he's afraid of what it's going to say.
Yeah, exactly. Because, again, he's just like, I'm the bad guy. I caused this kid to be dead, which he didn't, technically. The kid had ended up dying of an aneurysm that he just didn't see, which was, and Mark later on went back through all the records and be like, there's no way you could have known this.
He faults himself because of the whole, he used the superhero thing to help Julian get through some of his treatments because it was so hard on him. So they pretended he had superpowers and was able to, like, not feel pain. Mm-hmm. So he figured because Julian was pretending to not feel pain, they didn't speak up. That's what I took it. But
yeah, that's what it came across, is that, like, he blamed himself that Julian wouldn't tell him he was in pain.
Yeah.
And ergo, he could not find that he had an aneurysm, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he was too close to the patient and all this other stuff. Anyway, so many things, whatever. And so Josh took all of this at face value, I guess, and never really, he just, like, blocked it all out and then carried on with his life as it was.
Instead of going to therapy.
Instead of doing literally anything. So Kayla divulged all this information to Lynsey because she assumed Lynsey knows, because number one, Lynsey's very pregnant at this point. She's like 8 months or 8.5 months or something. She's quite a ways in, and she's got a ring on her finger. And so she assumes that this is an okay story to tell Josh's fiance who's pregnant with his kid. Rightly so. It should be. But anyway, so Josh comes in, he sees Kayla, and he's like, leave now. And she's like, I have this file, I have this child, like, here's my hotel key card. I'm here until tomorrow. If you can please consult on this, I'd be like, whatever. And she leaves. And then this is where they have the blow up with between the two of them, and she storms out. So she goes to stay with Kate, and they have the conversations of, like, you deserve big love and you shouldn't settle for anything less than that and whatever else. And then you get Dr. Dick's side of it, where he is at the hospital and he gets a patient come in, and there's no chart on the outside of the room. So he just goes in, and there's Mark, and Mark is finally like, I tracked you down. Finally, we're gonna have this conversation. Here's where I'm at. I've accepted, like, I've gone to therapy. I've done the work. Surprise!
I'm the only healthy individual in this entire story.
Anyway, and so he talks about, like, how, you know, I went back and reread all the records, and there's no way you could have known any of these things, and you should never have been his doctor to begin with, and, like, that's on me. And, like, I've come to terms with all these things and accepted, and Julian will want us all to be happy, et cetera, et cetera. And then he introduces Sienna and the new baby, because they just had a child. I think the child's like 6 months old or something.
Something like that.
And it's named after him. I think the kid's middle name is Joshua or something.
Thickens.
Or JJ. Sorry, the kid's name is JJ.
The kid's middle name is Thickens.
Dick Thickens. It's just so funny.
Josh Thickens.
So And so this is where you get, because again, men will do anything except go to therapy. They're literally put in a plot device, like Amy Daws put in a plot device so that he didn't have to go to therapy. And I hate that. This is a book about a person who's supposed to be a therapist. And the moral of the story is somebody else will solve your fucking problems for you.
It's like Caillou.
Oh, it's so annoying. Where are his parents even?
It's like
Only he's just a whiny bitch, and his parents do everything for him.
So, Jacqueline, what is the first thing you think you would do when you found out that you are better and you are capable of loving the person who's supposed to be your fiance, and you're so excited to love your baby, and now you're capable of love? Just one afternoon is all it took with Mark, just to be like, surprise, you're capable of love and you should love everyone. And it's like, oh my God, I do.
Therapy after all.
I didn't need therapy after all. I just immediately love everybody. I'm going to go punch Dean in the face. That's what I'm going to do right now. So he goes over to Dean's place, and Dean opens the door because it's like the middle of the freaking night or early in the morning or something, like some stupid hour of the day. And Dean opens the door, and Josh looks past him, and there's like a brunette woman or something, someone with a blanket wrapped around him, or wrapped around her rather. And all he does is punch Dean in the face because he assumes that's Lynsey. And he'd been sleeping with her. And it's like, oh, surprise, he gets a better look. That's not even her at all. It's someone completely different. And he just punched Dean in the nose for no fucking reason.
Surprise, I actually do need therapy.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, wait, so he didn't go there to punch Dean.
No, he went there to get Lynsey back. And he thought Lynsey was sleeping with Dean. And
Right.
all of it was bullshit. Anyway.
Which would be a Lynsey choice, not a Dean choice.
Don't even get me started. I could go on
Like being
4
like,
years about this book.
it's the bitch's fault because she slept with my boyfriend. No, it's
Oh
your
my
boyfriend's
God.
fault.
I hate that shit. I can't stand it. It's like, what, why? If the person makes a choice, that's the choice they made. I don't why are you mad at the other person anyway, cool. So anyway, then Dean kind of laughs at him, and he's like, no, she's over at Kate. She wouldn't stay
girl
here.
code and bro code.
Well, because Lynsey has too much respect for him or some shit, which don't even, whatever, because she's in love with him. So he ends up over at Kate's. And this is where the big grand gesture bullshit comes in.
Does he know she's at Kate's?
Yes, because Dean laughed in his face, and he's like, haha, I know she's over at Kate's. Go get her. Yeah, uh-huh. After he like fixes his nose and makes sure it's not broken and whatever. It's like, come on, man. So whatever. He goes over to Kate's, big grand gesture, blah, blah, blah bullshit. And then he gives her ring back, and she, whatever. He loves her and tells her he loves her. Blech. Horseshit. We get to the kind of end chapter epilogue bullshit where apparently at one point Lynsey had a dream that Josh was going to deliver her baby in the back of a van dressed as a pirate.
Okay.
And long and behold, the day she goes into labor, she is at a birthday party for her niece, Lennon. They're all dressed as pirates. And then she goes into, like, her water breaks. And they have to go to the hospital. And the only vehicle available is a minivan. And Josh is in the back of a minivan with her. And she's like, no, I can't be psychic. This is impossible. And then, anyway, he doesn't. They end up getting to the hospital, and everything's hunky-dory. And there's a surprise, they have a kid.
Not a puppy.
The end. It's a normal child, not a puppy child. What is the kid's name again? I don't remember. Juliana. They named her Jules. Juliana for Julian, obviously. And that's the summation of the whole book. Eventually, they get married, and they end up opening a clinic that treats. They're opening a clinic together that has
this actually did happen.
Yeah.
I thought you were just like making it up.
No, that did. Yeah. So, well, I mean, this is the epilogue, or the end of the whatever, is them talking about the space they're going to be opening together, which is, it's like a child psychology clinic and a child wellness clinic. Dude, no, she did mention how sick she was when she did read it. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Do we know how long Ashton's been sick for?
Quite a while. So that's the summation of the book. Jack, I'm gonna get you to read a piece.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, actually.
The book's really pretty.
Yeah, I got the variant cover. So the normal cover has Dr. Dick on it, And the variant cover is just like teal with orange poppies. And it's kind of nice. And it is a stock cover, I think, but it's nicer than the Dr. Dick one. Oh, so this is the after the parents leave, they need to finish what they started, basically.
Right.
Okay.
She stands on her toes to gain some leverage. I shake my head knowingly and step closer to her so we're mere inches apart. I didn't start that kiss either, and believe me, you wanted me just as much as I wanted you. Admit it. Duh, she exclaims and thrusts her tits towards me. I'm pregnant and crazy fucking horny. My vibrator has been working overtime, so I'd be a fool not to. Oh, fuck this. I cut her off and eliminate the last few inches of space between us to take her lips with mine. She yelps into my mouth, but her shock turns into something else as she moans and twines her hands around my neck. I devour her lips and palm her ass, yanking up her skirt so I can lift her around my hips. I grunt as her body becomes flush to mine. I've needed this. I've craved this. For weeks, I've wanted her back in my arms. I savor the weight of her as I turn to head down the hallway toward my room. Enough talking, enough sharing, enough interrogating, enough whatever the fuck this fucked up night was. I want her and she wants me. That's the only universal truth that matters right now. I kick the door open, bypassing my bed and heading into the bathroom. Lynsey pulls her lips from mine, breathlessly asking, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to fuck you in my bathroom," I state, my voice gruff with need. "Why?" I dip my head to her mouth and bite her lower lip before growling. "Because I like to finish things I start." I set her on the counter in the same spot she was before. I step back and undress, my eyes never leaving hers as I ditch my shirt, jeans, and boxer briefs. She stares shamelessly at my cock that's been some version of hard since I left this bathroom earlier this evening. I move toward her, my bare tip gliding up her skirt as I reach behind her and unzip her dress, the softness of her skin beneath my fingertips. She pulls her arms out of the top, letting the fabric pool around her belly, and I use the opportunity to pay homage to the breasts that have been tormenting me for the past month. I pop her bra off and assault her nipples, sucking on the hard nubs and sliding my tongue over them. After Lynsey's very pointed conversation with Dr. Lizzie, no pun intended, I'm no longer worrying about being gentle. Right now, I want to hear her scream. When I tap my teeth against her tender flesh, Lynsey cries out, her body falling back against the large mirror as her fingers slice through my hair. God, I love her hands in my hair. It electrifies me in the most carnal way and makes all the veins in my cock throb with need. I help her off the counter to remove her dress. Turning her around, I bend her over, and our eyes connect in the mirror as I position my cock at her slit. "You want me, Jones?" My eyes pierce hers like lethal weapons as I push the tip in. "Yes, Josh." Her voice is breathy as she splays her hands out on the granite. "Tell me how bad you want me," I demand, desperate to hear the desire in her voice again. "God, I want you so bad," she cries out, biting her lip and driving me even more wild with that sexy look on her face. "Do you know how bad I've wanted to fuck you since the moment you stepped foot in my house?" I asked, pressing only another inch inside her and relishing in the way her jaw drops in a silent cry of agony. "Watching you prance around in your bra and underwear, doing fucking yoga and changing your work outfit 3 times every day. God damn it, you drive me crazy." "Yes," she cries when I give her another inch. "Josh, please, please fuck me." "Have you wanted me to fuck you all this time, Lynsey?" I ask, watching her face as she nods. "Have you been running around half naked just to torture me?" "Yes," she says, her voice labored and raspy. "I've wanted to fuck you since the moment I told you I didn't want to fuck you." "Why do you deny us this, Jones?" I ask, pressing in a tiny bit farther, my hands biting into her hips as I stop myself from slamming all the way into her. "Why deny us what feels so fucking good?" "I don't know," she moans, her head tipping back as she presses against me, greedily taking me all the way inside her as she firmly adds, "But no more." "Damn right," I growl with a light smack to her ass as I increase my speed, thrusting wildly inside her, as deep as her body will let me. Her noises echo off the tile walls as we quench a thirst that has silently built inside us for weeks. She can blame her hormones. I can blame her. Blame her for being so fucking sexy and so perfect for my cock. God, she feels good. This feels good. Watching her watch me in the mirror as I plunge in and out of her in rapid succession. Thank fuck we got clearance for a little rough play, because when I smack her ass, she begs for more, clearly loving to take it as much as I love to give it. "Don't stop," she exclaims, panting and screaming, her breath as loud as mine as I stroke her G-spot with my cock. "I'm so close." "So am I growl, biting my lip to hold off until she's ready, until her climax can finish me off. I reach around and rub her clit in hard circles, and she's screaming my name in seconds and dropping her face to the cold countertop. Her climax squeezes my cock as I empty inside her, and then still letting the aftershocks of her orgasm milk me completely.
Thanks for that, Jack.
Yeah,
So that's a little insight to, well, the book.
great.
Yeah. So we've come to the rating portion. And I don't know, man. What do you want to rate this on? Disappointments. Let's rate it on... No, we'll rate it on French silk pie.
Sure.
So let's go with
5.
5 pieces of French silk pie.
Can we rate it on fistfuls?
Yes.
Okay.
We should rate it on 9 because there's 9 months in a pregnancy.
Okay. I can agree with that. 9 fistfuls of French silk pie. The funniest part of this entire book is the French silk pie. Jack, how do you feel about, how many handfuls of French silk pie do you feel about this book?
I love French silk pie,
Okay.
but I don't love this book. And as much as I would love to have 9 fistfuls of French silk pie for myself, maybe I'll give it a 3.
3 fistfuls of French silk pie.
Yeah, one of which I've thrown at the wall.
Wonderful. The other 2 you're just saving for a good time?
One's accidentally meringue.
No.
Jack would never. Oh, buddy. Out of 9. It's so seldom that I read if I didn't read this book, honesty hour, if this book was not for the podcast, I would have DNF'd it on page 4. As soon as I read the bullshit about, because there's another part I didn't read actually. There's a part in there where she's talking about the hot doctor or whatever being a douchebag. And one of the comments she says in her head was, "Hot guys get hall passes." And I don't think that's okay either, especially given the context that he was being a huge fucking douchebag. And that's not, none of that's okay. Like, that's the boys will be boys mentality sort of thing. And it's like, no, boys will be respectable fucking human beings is what they will be. And so like that whole tone was set on page 4 and 5 in this book. And I'm like, I don't really care what's going to be written next because I'm so not into that. But I did stick it out, and there were some parts that like after you get over that initial kind of blah of the book, like first 2 chapters roughly, it goes along at a pretty good click, and I'm okay with that. Like, a lot of it was, I don't know, man, whatever. Like, the part that really irked me that I was talking about, that like men will do literally anything except go to therapy, is when like literally his best friends come back in and fix his shit for him. It bothers me so much. It's so bothersome. And it's like, you're writing a book about a therapist who's going to be helping children overcome these issues that they're going to have being sick kids. And you can't write a book about a grown-ass fucking adult dealing with his own shit purposefully. Like, you have to have everyone else do it for him. I fucking hate that. So I give this a 1 moment, please. A 1 fistful of fucking pie. I can't. I'm so upset. Even the writing's like fine. It's derivative as shit. Like, it's just, here's all the words you want to hear, and this is it. Like, it's just whatever.
Can I read the part that you're talking about?
Sure.
I wanted to cut the guy some slack for his decidedly surly attitude toward the world because, well, he's hot. Hot guys get hall passes. They don't teach that in grad school, but they should.
Yeah, so that was when I was pretty much out.
Fair.
What page was that? Was it 4?
Yeah, maybe 6.
Yeah, it's really early on in the book. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it. As a mother...
5.
Okay, I will say, though, as a Mother's Day book, I'll give it this, is that Lynsey as a character was super gung-ho to be a mother and was very... Like, her entire outlook on the whole thing I thought was very positive. And the way she was, like, talking to her kid in her stomach, even though she was reading spicy romance books, which was kind of funny, I'm not gonna lie. And just, like, her whole going at it in the, like, I won't be with somebody who doesn't love me situation was, like, there's a lot of those kind of redeeming factors in there as her as a character. And I don't want to, like, balk at those because they were very good messages. But wrapped up in the, like, bullshit of the book in its entirety, it loses its luster so hard. But there was, that's why it's getting a 1. There were some good parts in there, but, like, damn. As a Mother's Day book, that's the one. It gets a 1 for that. Because it was definitely a Mother's Day book. Ash, what do you got?
Yeah, like a 4.
A 4? Okay. Out of 9, was it?
Oh, yeah.
4 fistfuls of French silk pie.
4 or 5, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Like a half.
4.5?
No.
Oh, like 50%.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
50%.
What made you pick this book up to begin with? Like, was it recommended to you?
It was a part of a series that was on my list, and it was one of the books that came up. Okay. I read and DNF'd 3 or 4 pregnancy books prior to this. And based on, like, grammar and, like, just quality of the writing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read this one, or I listened to this one, whatever, and it wasn't written, like, horribly, I was like, all right.
This'll do.
Well, look, like I said, I had 2 other options, but I've already talked about them. So they weren't really options. And both of them, admittedly, would have been better choices than this one. But again, I talked about them. Out on a Limb would have been a fucking fantastic book to do. It wasn't overly spicy, but it had that, like, diversity and representation that I was originally looking for. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I didn't hate Lynsey's character. As somebody who's in a position where I got pregnant by a jackass.
100% true.
Yeah, there's no lies there. And was terrified and insanely hormonal and made, admittedly, some very, very, very poor choices. As, like, a lot of it as a result of hormones. And again, explanation, not an excuse. But admittedly, I stopped making those decisions when the hormones cleared. I felt for her in her decision making, and I did appreciate her moment of she could have stuck it out with him if it was just her he didn't love. But when she realized it was the baby, she was like, no. Which, look, you deserve to be in a relationship with somebody who cares. But there's no point in being in a relationship with somebody if you're going to be alone. You're better off being by yourself. I've said that time and time and time again, particularly about my situation. The point of being a parent is to put your child first. She didn't 100% do that, but she did not do that.
That was her intent.
Yeah. Like, she did the best she could in a situation that she was in. And
I think what it came down to for me specifically is she gave him so much grace, and he did not deserve it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I did the same thing.
Right.
So
your story ended a little differently.
Oh, 100%. But again, hormones lifted, and I rationalized very clearly. And it was like, literally as soon as I stopped being hormonal, I was like, okay, bye.
Yeah, bye.
Maybe she'll do that too. We don't know.
Yeah. Right?
Unfortunately, 6 months later, they were still together and looking
Yeah.
and whatever.
I was sick. I don't know. I could get through it because I'll tell you, if I had to pick something, like
There's some gems.
in one of them, he literally made a comment about watching her do something masculine, like drive a boat, and I was like, nope.
What?
Yeah.
Hot.
I can't. So like, look. So it gets a half, like for me, because like I got through it. It was fine. It was
4.5.
Yeah. I wish as a romance book, I liked the main male character better because that's kind of the reason we read a lot of the romance book is strong female characters and men who don't act like the men in our lives.
Yeah.
And he acted like the men in our lives.
Yeah. Like, there's one part where he punches a wall, and
Yeah.
I like, if I wouldn't have DNF'd it at page 5, that would have been the next one. I'd be like, you're what?
Yeah.
And for her, again, as a psychologist,
Yeah.
she didn't even flinch as a character in this, and I'm like, you should know better.
That's
because
a trauma response.
Well, step 1 is punching walls, and step 2 is punching you, and that's how those things go.
Or your baby.
Or your baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I had such a hard time believing anything in this book.
It was
It's
like
bullshit.
a rom-com version of It Ends
wasn't
With
even.
Us.
It's not even a rom-com. It's not. There's no comedy in this. Like, there's a happy ending, I guess.
Well, no, but like, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover is about.
Oh yeah. Okay,
It's like
yeah,
a rom-com version of It Ends With Us.
Yeah,
Only
okay.
like yeah. Whatever.
I don't know.
I mean, I read it. It happened.
Happy Mother's Day.
I was given homework and I accomplished it in the state that I was in.
So that's the Mother's Day book. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. We love you a lot more than this book. And we're gonna wrap it up there. It's been a long episode, so we're gonna call it. And next time we are back, we are talking about How to Vex a Vampire by Alice Winters.
The book, not actually how to do it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Who knows? You have to come and find out. So that's available on Kindle Unlimited. You can also get it on Amazon or any other booksellers, and I recommend you do so. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us for this very special Mother's Day episode.
Bye.
And happy Mother's Day. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.